Final prediction time. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my prediction for the Championship Play-Off Final, how I think it's going to go. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Final predictions time, I should say. You guys must be absolutely buzzing for this one. Sunderland and Sheffield United fans, respectively, going to Wembley. The best prize in football. Is it the best way to win it as well? That is a conversation. And whoever wins it is going to be unbelievable. I was there last year when my club, Leeds United, lost it, and it was horrendous, heartbreaking. One of you two are going to feel that, but one of you two as well are going to feel that adulation, the jubilation of winning the Championship Play-Off Final. And what a feeling. I'm sure it is. I've never experienced it, but I'm sure it is. So, getting into the game and getting into why I'm so excited for this one. I wasn't bothered about the Europa League last night. I'm not bothered about the Champions League as such, but I love the Championship playoffs, and this is a really good one for me. It's the best game, and shout out to all the COD fans in here, and even the Bristol City fans in here as well. It's not to give you guys any form of disrespect. I just believe that Sunderland will give Sheffield United, if it is a certain Sunderland, their toughest task out of all the all the three other teams, I should say. So that's what we want as a neutral anyway. So going into the game, doesn't feel like there's any injury news. A few murmurs around Mundle as well, which I think is big if he is out for this one. But Mundle, I think, was a real important cog in Sunderland getting at Coventry and going back to the former Sunderland style, which wasn't just almost that boxed-off defensive side. It was going back to the free-flowing Sunderland side, which is called Leeds, Sheffield United and Burnley. Massive problems this season. I almost think the rotation that Labrise has put in this for the final furlong of this season, it's not really worked. It's not been great. You look towards the back end of the season, and I wonder now if he's almost gone to this defensive style of play, which we saw against Coventry in both legs, of which it's like tournament football, Gareth Southgate-esque, where it's like we just get the win and we will defend. And this Sunderland side's not really set up for that. I think it is set up, and I think it was set up to be this in KLD's vision and definitely Labrise's vision at the start of the season, to be an attacking, fluid, free-flowing side where the fullbacks push up, they overlap, they underlap. The wingers are just out and out, almost of the 90s style of football that we saw, in the Premier League with the likes of, Ljungberg and Overmars and Ryan Giggs and Beckham. It was very much like that, and that's how it kind of felt really this season. It was like Sunderland, when they came at you, it'd be really difficult to defend, especially with the box-to-box action of players like Chris Rigg and Jobe Bellingham, and you were seeing Rigg pick up ridiculous positions in the box as well as Jobe Bellingham. They'd flood areas, and I think I look back a little bit to the game against Sheffield United at the Stadium of Light, where I thought Sheffield United were decent, but I look at that and it was a 4-4-2 of which Sunderland will deploy in this game, which I think is a smart tactic against Sheffield United, especially with Jack Robinson at the back, with the likes of Meander maybe leaning on him with his pace, and Isidore, really pressing up the action against Anel, of which you saw Isidore spin Anel in the last game that these two played against each other. So there's battles there in the front line, in the defensive line for Sheffield United, and ways that Sunderland can get at them. But I just feel it would be such a better final if Sunderland are Sunderland of old, Sunderland of that game, if they went back to that style, because I don't think this style suits them, being defensively solid and defensively, very decent, I would say, against Coventry. And was that just a tactic for Labrise to get through Coventry? Because we know the mental stipulation of, we've not beaten them in however many years, I need to get through this, it's tournament football. So will Labrise change, be pragmatic, go back to that side that came up against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light with mass amount of injuries that was still able to get the win, went up against that Sheffield United side, that Sunderland side that went up against that Sheffield United side, sorry, I should say. Will he go back to that 4-4-2 and a little bit more free-flowing, where attack was the best form of defence for Sunderland? And you look at the results throughout the season, that has been how Sunderland have been successful in some of the bigger games. I don't think Sunderland are better when Sunderland are defending. They obviously have to invite this. Dan Ballard is 100% taken on that duty, of course, and a 1-0 to Sunderland, nobody will care. They'll love that. But I just don't think they'll be able to do that against this Sheffield United side. This Sheffield United side are a different kettle of fish to Coventry. They're a very good attacking side. They are the third best team in the division. They finished 30-odd points ahead of 6th place. And they finished a fair few points. Was it 14 points ahead of Sunderland? They're a good team. Gustavo Hamer, Callum O'Hare, Ty Campbell, Kiefer Moore, Vinny Souza, Sidney Peck. They've got a lot of very, very, very good championship players. And they managed to retain some of their key personnel in the summer transfer window as well, which was a massive, massive credit to them, with the likes of Vinny Souza, Gus Hamer sticking around, NL, unbelievable bit of business really, just keep retaining these players. And the bookies will tell you that Sheffield United are the massive favourites. The massive favourites. I think what Chris Wilder's done has been exemplary in terms of turning that around again after the 3 losses. Turning that round again, getting Sheffield United mentally back on point. And they look like the old Sheffield United, it has to be said. They're not exemplary. They're not a team where you look at and you think, wow, they're fantastic. I don't think they've been that throughout the season, apart from 45 minutes against Leeds United. An excellent performance at home to Middlesbrough and Coventry. Aside from that, I'm not 100% sure they have been. And if you had a gun to my head, who would I rather watch when they were in free flow, Sunderland or Sheffield United? It would be Sunderland. However, Sheffield United have game changers, they have X Factor, they have match winners. And depending on what happens with Mundle for Sunderland, who can be a match winner, does it come to experience in comparison to youth and exuberance, So players like Alan Brown are going to be big in the changing room for Sunderland, huge, obviously a little bit more of an experience there, but there's a lot of kids in there, Jobe Bellingham, Chris Rigg, Mundle, players of that ilk of which are going to have to be coaxed through it. And will it be too much? Will that be too much for Sunderland? Will that mental game be too much? So towards the back end of the season, were they just laying off because they knew they had the playoffs? Or was it a case of mentality was tested a little bit and they really struggled? But then Sunderland have come back into their own when it's come to the Coventry fixtures as well, which you really had to have some mental fortitude to get back on task with that. So well done to them for that. I'm really confused with this one. My head says Sheffield United have too much quality. But the other side of my head as well, the left side of my head, the right side of my head, whatever you want to call it, the 50-50 split, says that when I've watched Sunderland against Sheffield United this season, I would argue I've been more impressed with Sunderland. I think for 60, 70 minutes at Bramall Lane, Sunderland were the better team. Obviously lost that game. And at the Stadium of Light, I think Sheffield United were the better team, but it was closer at the Stadium of Light. Closer. So I think overall, when you look at those 180 minutes, I think Sunderland were the better team. But I think Sheffield United have got a lot of quality. A lot of quality. And that's where I'd worry for Sunderland. But if Sunderland are like Sunderland of old this season, I can see them winning this game. But if it is a Sunderland of which is being tournament football Sunderland, I'd worry for them because I think the Sheffield United side have way too much. So it all depends on how Sunderland's set up. It all depends on how Labrie sets up. What an unbelievable season he's had as manager. Outstanding first season in English football. 4th for a side without parachute payments and who play this Moneyball data-driven approach, which I think is excellent and is the envy of a lot of clubs. I think it will come good for Sunderland. Even if they don't go up this season, they sell players. I think that data-driven approach and how Sunderland do it is very similar to that of Brentford's, and I think they've got a very, very good future coming up, Sunderland. Sheffield United, on the other hand, I think there is a bit of the Leeds Uniteds in there. Well, they'll think if they don't go up, they'll get stronger next season. They'll be able to get... Some players will go, some players will stay, and the division will be harder next season, which Sunderland fans have to take into consideration as well. But Sheffield United, for me, will build and might sell a couple of players, but they might be able to keep hold of the likes of Gus Hamer because of injuries this season. Might be able to keep Vinny Souza because of injuries this season. I think they might only be at risk of selling a couple because I don't think there's been a big fraction of this Sheffield United side who've been outstanding this season. I think they've just worked really well as a unit and dug in and quite rightly being where they are. But my head tells me it's Sheffield United who are going to win the game. But the other side of me, so I'm a bit of a 50-50 split. I've just got this 2-1 Sunderland thing in my head. I really have. If it's Sunderland of old, they can really hurt the Sheffield United side. This Sheffield United side are not bulletproof, but they also have a lot of weapons in their artillery. So if Sunderland are defensive, if they go into it with that mindset, I think they're going to get pushed back and they're going to get picked apart. I don't think Dan Ballard and Luke O'Nien will be able to withstand the sort of attacking presence that Sheffield United have. But I think if they go into it very similar to what they did against Sheffield United in the 2 games of which they've played, and they've got more of a chance. So my final prediction is Sunderland 2, Sheffield United 1. But do I really believe that? I'm not sure. But that is my final prediction, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who do you think are going to be the main players? Let me know in the comment section below. We'll see you in a bit.